So today's topic might be a little touchy for some of you, because I know for me, this subject was very touchy for me about 2 years ago, and I did not believe in it. So today's topic is past lives and reincarnation. So if you are like I was 2 years ago, you did not believe that any of that even exists. You believe that you come down here, you die, and that is it. And it took me a while to kind of be like, okay, so maybe past lives do exist. Maybe reincarnation does exist. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe that I've been doing this for hundreds and thousands or whatever years, and that I don't remember any of that. But then, I guess maybe about 6 months after I started doing meditation, all of a sudden I had a memory come up in one of my meditations of a past life. And it was very real to me. It'd be just like you can remember your 16th birthday, or you can remember that time that one thing happened, or you remember what you did yesterday and you can kind of relive it in the memories in your head, especially if it was something traumatic that happened to you. You can remember, oh, I remember those feelings, and they come up. And it was a traumatic thing that happened to me in a past life. And I was like, wow, this is for real. You may in your life have had glimpses of past life experiences and you didn't really realize it, because after I started having some of these past life experiences, then I realized that I had them as a child. There'd be several times where I would have flashbacks, if you will, of something, and I'd be like, wow, that's weird. One I can really remember one time is when I was, I don't know, 16 or 17, and I was driving my car down the road, and all of a sudden I had this flashback of me riding in a carriage being drawn by horses. And I was just like, well, that's kind of interesting. So I didn't really think much about it. I just thought it was my imagination doing whatever it does. But now I realize, that must have been a flashback of me doing that in the past. Now I'm doing it in a vehicle versus a horse-drawn carriage. So reflect on that a little bit and see if maybe you have had those happen to you in your life at some time. I was just watching something recently where this man was talking about where you go to a place and it seems very familiar to you, but you know you've never been there before. So for example, he said he went to Rome, and I don't know if it was like the cathedral or something, and there was all these stairs, and all of a sudden he turned and he just stopped and he had a flashback. Now some of you may just be like, this feels familiar, but it was a flashback of him actually being there, who knows, Roman times or something of the sort. And I think the more you become in tune with the universe, the more these memories or flashbacks or whatever, if you will come to you, because these memories, you can say, oh, they're stored in your brain. Well, really the whole universe is stored within your brain. It's stored within every cell and every atom in your body. Really every atom and cell that's around you has the information of the entire universe inside of it. So yes, the information is there. You're just accessing it. So let me go back then to my first experience of a past life during meditation, if you will. So the flashback was me walking up to like a baby cradle or whatever, like something like a bassinet or something like that. And I could picture the entire, I felt like I was in like a New York City kind of old apartment back in maybe the early 1900s. And there was I don't know if she's a friend or a maid or whatever with me. And it's so funny because this happened in an instant. But I realized as I was walking up to this baby carriage or bassinet, the baby had just died. And I felt that pain and agony of that child dying. And also in that instance, I remember my husband had gone to war and had also died, and that's what made this so much more devastating to me. And after I came out of that meditation, I was just like, wow, it felt so real. And there was a lot to learn from just that single instance. It explained why I'm so overprotective of my children. I'm always worried about them getting sick. And you know, this instance, and actually this past life, has been revisited several times since then. So since then, I've had a flashback to meeting my husband in that life. He was working at like a drugstore ice cream shop, and like I said, there's been a lot of things, and it's just crazy how real it is to me, these events. But they came to me when I was ready to deal with them. So for example, there's a lot of people that say, like when I first started meditating and stuff, and they say, well, sometimes there's trauma stuck in your body that, you know, are preventing you from moving forward in your life or whatever. And so some people are like, well, you should just go to a person that can do a past life regression. You know, if you've heard, Dolores Cannon is really big on, she would basically hypnotize these people, and they would go back to past lives. I mean, way back, and get into the Akashic record and all this other stuff. And so you could go to somebody like that, or other people that just, I guess they kind of talk to the universe or look in the Akashic record, and they can find out things about your past life. And I was not ready for that. I was like, I don't want to know any of that stuff. I don't want to know things that happen. I mean, I'm already dealing with everything in this life. I don't think I can handle the stuff from my past life. And I feel that stuff from your past life will come up when you're ready to deal with it. Because, for example, my husband went to go do a past life regression with somebody that did I think it's QHHT. Basically, they do the thing that Dolores Cannon did. And he was hoping to get into past life, but she basically had only worked on this life. And I think because he needed to deal with stuff in this life first before learning more about his past life. And so like I said, things will only come up when I'm ready to deal with them, or maybe there's an instance of something going on in my life and something in my past life will come up, and I'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense that, you know, I'm this way because of that. Because if you look at people in their life, especially if you have children, and you see that each personality is different, and it's like, but they're all raised the same. And it's because of their soul, their experiences that they've been through, and how they view the world is different. So the same thing could happen to two people, and they each have a different reaction to it, or a different story about what happened because of their experiences. And a lot of that stems from what they've learned through their past lives. And that kind of goes into the whole reincarnation thing too. Obviously, if there's past lives, there's reincarnation. And they say, well, when is the reincarnation going to stop? Why do I just keep doing it over and over again? Is something wrong with me? Am I broken? Is there something I'm supposed to accomplish I'm not accomplishing? And I can't answer that exactly. I mean, there's a lot of guesses of why that is. And it's kind of like you're trying to evolve to this point of, I don't know if you want to call it like pure whatever, enlightenment, whatever it is. And there may be some people that reach that enlightenment, if you will, but then they get out there into the ether again after this life, and they're like, you know, even though I think I accomplished everything and I've been enlightened or whatever, I really want to go back down again. And they call Earth like a school. It's like you want to learn. It's like, oh, I want to learn to do this. In this next life, I want to be this person. And they say that we choose our lives. We choose, and you're like, how could that be? You know, I had all these horrible things happen to me as a child, and I had these horrible things, and I was really sick. How could we choose that in our lives? Well, I don't know. This is just stuff that I've read, and I guess it resonates with me. And we choose who we're supposed to be with, maybe. you know, I mean, we kind of set some things down and say, well, this is what I want to be. This is my family. If you've heard of children choosing their parents. And they say when you have a hard life, it's because you're like, I really want to get rid of this one quality in me that I just can't stand it. Just keep going over and over again in every life I'm in, and I want to get rid of it. And so they choose the family where something horrible happens and they're treated horribly or something. And that's supposed to help to push all that crap out of them, to get that one trait out of them or something. You know, I don't know why people choose the lives they do, why it is the way it is, if this is true, but like I said, for me, it resonates with me. So going back to some of my past lives, so that one I've kind of figured out. My husband went to World War I and died. And I actually was going through a dark night of the soul several months ago. And I went to this one lady, and I guess I didn't realize she was going to go into my past lives. She was basically going to talk to my spirit guides, but I guess they figured I was ready to find out some of this information. And she didn't tell it to me. She basically, I don't know how, I guess you can call it hypnotism or something, but she was talking to me, and these things were coming out of me from my past lives that helped me realize a lot of stuff. For example, she had me go to the time I found out about my husband's death. And I was like, oh my goodness, it was a flashback. And I remember opening the door to my apartment, and the person was standing there, and I fell to my knees and I started crying. And as I was crying in front of this lady, she's like, how many months pregnant are you? I was like, I don't know, 6, 8 months. I was like, I knew I was pregnant. I knew I had received this news. And she was asking me that. And I was like, I don't know where that came from. It just came out of me. It was in my subconscious. I was like, wow, this is crazy stuff. And I've had flashbacks in some of my other meditations from the life before that. I lived on a farm, and actually that one didn't come first. What first came is I remember being out in the snow and seeing my daughter figure skating on the ice. And then my husband was there and kind of came, and then I stopped. I was like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I knew what happened. I saw it happening in my meditation, and I said, I don't want to see it because I knew what happened. The ice broke and they fell. And I was like, good grief. Okay, so I have this pattern of losing the ones I love. And loneliness. I have been dealing with this loneliness inside of me in my life. I haven't been lonely. But what's interesting is, like, maybe in this life I have 5 kids. So it's like, I have 5 kids now. I'm not lonely. I'm surrounded by loved ones. But yet I have this loneliness inside of me. It's like, well, how can you be lonely with all these kids around you? But that's what very interesting, that it's like, okay, this is something I need to work out. It's not losing people and being lonely. It's just something inside of me that's lonely. And, but then same thing in that life. I feel like I was in like a Poland, Russia. It's so weird how you can sense that. It's like a split second when these things happen. And then when I went to this lady, I believe, I can't even remember when it was, but went back to, I lived on a farm, and my dad was abusive. I don't know if it was verbally or physically, but I was hiding under like a kitchen cupboard because he was in a rage. And I was like, okay, my mom died and my dad is very upset, and he takes it out on me in whatever way it is. And I went out into the fields and the farm to get away. So that was interesting. And then just recently I had another one where I thought I was having a dream, but and I can't figure out which life this was in. But I was hiding behind like a old metal framed bed, and there was like a little table in the corner, and I was hiding. And I was thinking, oh, somebody's trying to break in. And then I'm like, wait, no. That's a different kind of fear. It was a different feeling inside. And I figured it was my boyfriend or husband or something banging on the door, trying to find me or something, because he was drunk and wanted to beat me. That's the impression that I got. And I'm like, wow, you know, I'm surrounding myself by this, and it's just like I'm telling you guys this because if you've never had experiences like this, I can't tell you deep inside what's going on, but I can tell you just by these little tidbits of things that have happened in my meditations and they've been revealed to me. I see patterns in my life of that explains why I feel this way. That explains why I react this way in certain situations. It really helps explain a lot. But like I said, if some of these people that want to go find out about your past, be ready to, I don't know what, just be ready. Because you may not want to hear it, you may not want to accept it, or you may relive it and be like, oh, because I remember when I went to that lady and she brought up a lot of these things from my past, I didn't feel good for a couple days. And I don't know if you've seen my video where I said I lost my voice. I had gone to see this lady and my voice was finally starting to come back. The day after I saw this lady, my voice completely went away. But then a couple days later is when I didn't lose my voice anymore. It was like it started coming back. So it was like this was kind of like the tip of the iceberg I kind of needed to let go of some stuff. So if you're thinking about doing some past life regression, you know, just like I said, be ready. But at the same time, I think that the universe only gives you what you can handle and what you're ready for. If you want to jump into meditation and say, I want to see something from past life, then go for it. You know, I've had other flashbacks to past lives, and it's hard to... I've told some people about them, and they look at me like I'm really freaking crazy. So, like I said, this is a very touchy topic. Some of you are like, oh yeah, I believe that. But some of you might be like, yeah, you're full of it. Just see what resonates with you. Do some research. Watch Gaia. They got some good stuff on there. I may have lived on another planet, or it may have been Earth. But you look at the Egyptians. We don't know how the Egyptians built the pyramids. We don't know any of that stuff. But I've had flashbacks to where I am very powerful, to where it's hard to say. Okay, think Avengers scale. I had powers, okay? Okay, yeah, you're thinking, you're cuckoo. But no, I mean, I've had flashbacks of that. But recently, it's very interesting because it's a remembrance that, if you've heard, the past, present, and future exists all at the same time. It's like we're at a gaming system. We have all these monitors of everything going on, and we're able to access everything at the same time. So doing that recently, I was like, I remember when I was really powerful in that past life. I want that power now. I'm going to access that same power. That same power I should be able to access. If it exists at the same time, I should be able to access that power. And what was crazy is 2 days later, we did the walk for the world. And I have a very unexplainable thing happen to me. Some of you have seen some of my videos and heard I have a lot of energy move through me and I just shake and it's like, I feel like I'm being electrocuted. But this amount of energy that came to me felt like I was powering up. It wasn't like a feeling like, oh, I feel vibrations and I'm shaking. It was an emotional feeling of this energy coming to me. Like I'm accessing all this energy to use it in some way. I was like, wow, this is cool. It was like also another thing, like a remembrance. So, I know this is going a little long. I could go on forever about this topic. Another thing that happened recently is, so, I mean, my husband's got his own little stories he can tell, but I'll tell you a little bit. Like, for example, my husband was my husband, not in this last one, that was in like World War I, but the one before that. And I don't want to get into too many details, but I know who my husband was in my last life, and he's another character in my life now. So anyway, this flashback, if you will, or I don't know if it was really even flashback. It's hard to get into it because I don't want to say too much about it. It's on a personal level. Now, basically, my husband and I were in the ether, or whatever you want to call it. Is basically before you come down to earth, where our energy, our spirits go. And we were discussing what we wanted to do. We were discussing how we would work together, work out our problems together. And this is how it would go. And this is who our parents will be. There was a lot, like I said, without getting into too many details, there was a lot that we discussed. And like I said, it was another one of those things where it just happened in an instant, but it was a memory. So I was able to come out of that meditation and be like, oh yeah, this, and this, and this. And yeah, I remember this. So not only memories of being here on earth, but memories of being up there in the oneness or pure consciousness. It's hard to even explain. I guess that's about it. I do love hearing stories of people in their past lives. I don't know if you've met people where you just feel so connected with them, and most likely it's because you were with them in a past life. You experienced something in a past life. One of my friends was saying that she recently found out that her mom in a past life was her daughter. So they had reversed roles. And so it's kind of like playing house as kids. It's like, okay, I'm going to be the mom, you're going to be the dad, I'm going to be a brother, you're going to be an uncle, I'm going to be your grandma, and you just want to switch roles. But it's crazy and cool how that all works out. And there are some people that I have met that I feel like, wow, I feel connected to you, like I know you, or I've worked with you. Because I even did that one time at an event. I remembered back to me being in this really big gold palace. I don't want to get into too many details, but there was a lot of other people there. And I had this question that I just asked in my subconscious. I said, I was at a Dr. Joe Dispenza event, and you know, there's like 1,500 people or 2,000 people or whatever there. And I asked, was anybody else in this room there at that time? And they said, the voice in my head said, yes, 8. So 8 people that were in that room were with me back in whatever time that was. So it was kind of interesting. So anyway, if you want to share some experiences in the comments below, I'd love to hear some of your past life experiences. They're fun. I mean, like my husband has talked about, remember being like a Roman soldier and stuff. And another one of my friends was like talking about some horrible I've heard people talk about like some horrible things that they, like I experienced, like me getting beheaded, and I was like, ugh. See, like, I mean, is that something you want to relive? It's like, it's crazy. So like I said, if you're interested in looking into past lives, you can find, there's people all over the internet that will do, I guess you could say they're psychics, or they can just tune in the Akashic record, or a QHHT practitioner, or you can just try it yourself in meditation and set the intention before you go into a meditation. I'd like to see something from one of my past lives in my meditation and see what comes. And if it doesn't, try it again, try it again, try it again. And it doesn't, because I've sometimes jumped in asking for something in my meditation. And I think sometimes when you're looking for it, it's not going to come. And for me, I've never looked for it. It's just come for when I'm ready to receive it. So just be prepared. Thank you for watching.